Hello, good morning, and welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Chamberlain Usal.
Well, it's a beautiful morning. I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at how the dailies are reflecting developments across the country. We've got Ms. Abimbola Toki, who is the editor and publisher of Business World. Thank you for coming on this morning again today. Let's start off with this. FG reduces petrol price to 125 naira per litre. That's Nigerian Tribune's big lead this morning. But when this announcement came, how did you receive it?
Yes, expected. I was not surprised at all.
Which part was expected? A reduction or to this price?
Of course, I even expected more, lower than 125, going by the international benchmark for Brent crude, which now sells at about $26. Okay, so going by that, I even expected that it would go to as low as between 100 and 115 naira.
Okay,
so
I heard some people say 80 and 99 or something.
Let's even
like
say 100, between 100 and 115 naira. But at least this one is something to go with.
That's 20 naira.
It's the right step in the right direction.
Okay, so that's, and then just above that, since it's related, COVID-19, CBN announces another 1.1 trillion naira palliative. FEC OK's reduction of 2020 budget by 1.5 trillion naira. Which one did you expect?
No, of course. Definitely, one we expect all agencies, all the economic experts of the government to put their thinking cap on at the moment, because it is a global phenomenon, and the budget has to be managed very, very effectively. So I expect them to put on their thinking caps to see how the direction of the economy will go, especially with this current development. So all hands must be on deck now to ensure that the budget of 2020 did not crash, because what is happening at the moment is capable of causing a lot of damage to the economic situation of the country.
In terms of the palliatives, we've seen them announce palliatives before, either before all those few price arguments that went back and forth. But for this one, what measures, first, are you satisfied with what they've announced in terms of how it will get to the people? And what would you like to see such that it doesn't go the way of the previous announcements?
Yes, that's why I said that government should be, officials, relevant authorities should be up and running at this time. I guess we are talking of some of the palliatives that have been, yes, of course. Is it 1.1 or 1.5 that has been reduced? Oh, that should be expected, because
no, the 1.5 is for the budget.
Okay, for the budget.
1.1
is what the CBN is announcing and pumping into.
Of course, one will expect CBN to put in, to have established measures to ensure that this thing gets to the right quarters. Because if you leave it unmonitored, it will get frittered away, and you won't see anything at the end of the day. But I trust the CBN authorities; they will do the right thing to ensure that, and it will also be measured weekly or, regularly, to ensure that these palliatives are actually working.
And when you say the right areas or the people who need it, which one comes to mind now? Which areas or which sectors would you want to see benefit from this?
Especially the food items, for instance. When we are talking of this kind of palliative, one would like to see the prices of foodstuff coming down. Other materials that are capable of affecting the life of people directly. The building materials, some other things that you can think of in the marketplace. For instance, the petrol issue is also touches on the life of generality of Nigerians. So these are the areas that people can easily feel the impact of these palliatives, and some other areas that government will think that Nigerian can easily say, okay, yes, at least for this moment we can rest and be a bit relieved of the hardship of the current economy.
Yeah, look at this next one beneath that lead story. Dead Ekiti coronavirus victim spent 2 weeks in Ibadan. Host of riders now, the first of which says Lagos, Ogun, ban religious gatherings for more than 50 worshippers. 9 northern governors closed schools for 30 days. Well, it goes on because some of the other papers will reflect this same one. So, but this fact that he spent 2 weeks in Ibadan, and we only got to know yesterday.
Honestly speaking, the situation is actually frightening at the moment. I listened to a U.S. doctor, a Nigerian U.S. doctor, talk last night, and he actually painted a picture that was quite threatening and frightening. Look at it. He spent 2 weeks in Ibadan. How many people has he interacted with? Okay, between Ibadan and Ekiti, how many people has he interacted with? As a matter of fact, that doctor was telling me that at the moment, from observations and revelations, that Nigeria, we have not made, at the moment, have nothing less than between 500 and 1,000 cases. So many of these are unreported. And I feel that it is also time Nigerian government brace up.
Wait. That suggests that our authorities are not being straight with us.
Well, one couldn't say with a fact that they are not being straight. But you know, so many things might be shrouded in secrecy at the moment. Because look at this man.
Does that help?
Look at this man, 2 weeks in Ibadan.
Yeah,
can you imagine how many number of people he might have shook hand with, he might have interacted with, he might have eaten with from Ibadan to Ekiti? What means of transport did he go with in Ekiti? How many people has he interacted with? Things like that. Look at the man that came also from, was it US? Even this morning, another case has been reported in Ondo. The man came from US. He traveled to Ondo, you know. How many people has he interacted with from Lagos to Ondo? You know, so when this doctor was talking to me, you know, I was beginning to make sense of what he actually said. He painted a very gory picture of what is happening at the moment. And you know, even if you walk around, you see people not being careful enough. Many people are coronavirus, you know. Take a look at it.
No, but
what is even our president doing at the moment? I expect the president to have addressed the nation.
Which is what the Senate is asking him to do
this
now.
Is
it has
more,
to take a resolution.
This is even more than Boko Haram. It's more threatening than Boko Haram. Don't forget that even Boko Haram can be easily infected where they are at the moment. They can be easily infected even with this virus. I mean, it has become a national, of course, it's a global phenomenon. Yeah. But when we are talking of it, this our country should be taken more seriously. Why hasn't our president addressed the nation up to this point? You know, what is he doing there? Also, you understand? Look at it. States are taking up measures. They are coming up with proactive measures. What is our president doing to ensure that he calmed the frayed nerves, or, I mean, to assure us that the government is up and running and is up to the task in curtailing the spread of this disease?
I think we should break it down. What you're asking for is the president to address the nation, maybe, not the measures being taken, because from time to time we hear from the Minister of Health,
it also goes a
the
long
NCDC.
Way.
So you just need the president to address the nation.
It goes a long way. Look at US. Okay, look at other nations of the world. Look at Ghana. You know, governments they are taking it more serious.
So the president should actually lead the charge. We need to see him lead the charge.
He shouldn't be told. Our president shouldn't be told.
Well, this other matter, Senate wants police decentralized, demands abolition of Almajiris, tells Buhari to review defense contract with US. Are they finally seeing reason why, what people have been clamoring for about decentralization of the police?
Can you please take that again?
Senate wants police decentralized. Isn't this the state police that people have been talking about?
Well, I think that was one of the reasons why the Amotekun issue came up. Okay? You know, what is the ratio of a policeman
to the citizens?
To the citizens. It is quite abysmal. Okay, and you also discover that they are not also encouraged when you see them on the road. As a matter of fact, when you see our policemen, the way they dress, the way they look. Yesterday, when I was going home, you see a policeman running after an Okada man because of what he wants to collect.
Even in this era of coronavirus where social distancing is...
Excuse me.
And you're sure it's not to curb crime? Maybe the bike man
Which
was
crime?
escaping from a crime scene.
Excuse me, which crime?
Ooh.
In slippers, running,
Is that
shouting.
the policeman or the Okada man?
The policeman,
Maybe it was undercover. Maybe maybe that was an undercover.
I beg. So, I mean, what are we talking? What are we?
Undercover slipper.
What are we talking about here? You see, they are not encouraged. The moral, I mean, the zeal to do the work is no longer there. So if the federal structure cannot take care of them, let it be decentralized.
But don't also forget there is the concern of paying them if, the decentralization means that the states would now have, full authority over them. Payments.
Then let there be a redistribution of Nigeria's income. Let the state take more, let there be less from the central. Empower the state more so that they can take care of some of these issues.
I think I see why this has been a thorny issue. If it starts, it's going to uncover a lot of things. But we'll see how this plays out. Let's take a look at the Daily Times. The big story, mixed reactions greet slash in petrol price. In fact, you showed that mixed reaction. You expected it, but you expected it to be less. And some are happy, but they're saying it should be more. But at this time, 125 is the official rate. And I understand that it's going to be modulated such that if the prices go up, it perhaps goes up. If it comes down, it goes lower. So we'll see how that plays out. And you see an explanation why Buhari approved reduction in price of PMS.
But one thing actually surprised me. When the government announced the reduction yesterday, you see all has any of the petrol stations
not that we know
reviewed?
And it's supposed to be immediately.
If it were to be 165 yesterday,
it would have been immediately.
What are we talking about? I mean, this country, when we are blaming the government, it's not only about the government. What of even we ourselves? I've bought petrol this morning. NNPC filling petrol station. I was asking them, look, why are you still selling at 145? And I said, please bear with us. At least for today, we will change it.
So we can make all
look at it. It's not all about government. It's also about we that we need to show responsibilities in this country. It's not good at all.
And I think it'd be great to see Nigerians send us, their experiences with filling stations. Have they brought down the price where you are? Have they not? But see, this one right on top of the nameplate, COVID-19, CBN to inject 1 trillion naira stimulus into economy. We talked about that. Meets with bank executives March the 21st to work out modalities. I think there's something about this March 21st. But we'll see how that plays out. But see this one. FG reduces 2020 budget by 1.5 trillion naira. Now, that is not the story. The question is where? Because the budget is 10-point-something trillion naira. So which area? And it appears under recoveries, which they call subsidies, capital expenditure by MDAs, and some other areas. So seeing that this is where, that money is being taken out from, does that give you some peace
honestly,
of
if you ask me, it shouldn't be on capital expenditure.
For MDAs?
Even for MDAs, it should actually be on recurrent expenditures. Nothing says that even at this moment, officials' salaries should not be reduced. It happens in the private sector. When the situation is not going good, you see a cut down in allowances and salaries and all that. This should not affect, if you ask me, this should not affect the infrastructure, development, capital expenditure, and all that. It should basically be focused on recurrent expenditure, payment of salaries, allowances, and I think this is where our politicians should also take the lead. I expect the Senate to come, the National Assembly to come and say, okay, this is what we are doing at this moment to at least to cushion the effect that this problem we have on the budget.
Well, the good thing is this should still go to the National Assembly, so we'll see how that is handled. Well, you see sports news, coronavirus, Juventus player Matuidi tests positive. I mean, that's yet another player testing positive for the coronavirus. We'll leave it there for the Daily Times.
The Guardian newspaper is next and leads with pretty much, the same story as other papers this morning. Major headlines: government searches for contacts of 5 new coronavirus suspects, restricts travel from US, UK, France, others cancels visas, reps, NYSC, airline, varsity, others impose curbs, on and on. We've talked about this shutdown of schools in Lagos and restriction of religious gatherings. Some people are also asking the question, what happens to all the clubs, pubs, restaurants, and all those other places?
Isn't that some form of gathering? I wouldn't call it a religious gathering.
Honestly speaking, I think we, the citizens, should actually react positively to. It's about life. We are talking about life. Any gathering at all, whether club, whether social, whether religious, should be reduced. Activities there should be reduced at this moment. And I'm happy. I've been seeing memos and directives from Christian Association of members of Christian Association of Nigerians directing their members that activities in churches should be. I've read one this morning, okay, especially coming from my church. These are the things that we are talking about life here. So whatever, anything that will make you to safeguard your life in terms of where you go, what you do, the type, people you meet, such activities should be reduced. Should be reduced at this moment.
Well, of course, other headlines: FG slashes 2020 budget by 1.5 trillion. Why Buhari reduced petrol price to 125 naira, and on and on. But there's one story here that gives me a little bit of a concern. 2 doctors, 14 others die of Lassa fever in Bauchi. The story is on page 5. It would seem like while we're focusing on trying to stem one, another, seems to be going through the back door.
Lassa fever has been with us for, well ahead of coronavirus. These are what we are talking about before it becomes so overwhelming that we won't even have control over it. This is why, as a matter of fact, an emergency is supposed to have been declared on some of these things so that government can be, officials can be more proactive in handling these cases. We don't pray for bad things. This is capable of wiping off great numbers of citizens. We pray that this will not happen in this country, but at least we must put up measures, okay, to curb some of these problems.
Okay, well, this one as well. One still missing, 170 buildings affected, 276 persons displaced, 57 rescued in Lagos explosion. Stories on page 5. The back page of Guardian has sports, among other things. That's the Guardian this morning, guys.
Oh, we'll take a look at Vanguard next. Coronavirus, Lagos, Ogun, going into lockdown, which is what you said about states doing certain things. And then both states ban gatherings above 50 persons in churches and mosques. NYSC short orientation camps, says no core member official infected. 5 new cases, including 6-week-old baby confirmed. Total cases now 8. And then address Nigerians on efforts to combat coronavirus. Senate urges Buhari, part of which you also highlighted. But just beneath that one, woman who tested negative to COVID-19 in Enugu dies. So, and then Jamb also speaking up saying, look, UTME...
Tested negative.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they said she died before the results came.
So what are we talking about? Tested negative and died.
So maybe
what is the
other causes then, possibly?
Well, are we even headline sure that it was rightly tested?
So there could be false negative, false positive.
There could be. These are the issues that we should take a look at. Okay, she tested negative and she died. Who tested her? With what instrument? You understand? These are the things, we must get this thing accurate. We must get it right. Otherwise, I pray that all is well.
Just quick one on the back page, Vanguard Sports. Mikel leaving in the Trabzonspor, hardest decision for me. Drogba backs him. Suspending league matches in Turkey will lead to divorces. That's the Trabzonspor president, so I didn't understand that myself. I thought, okay, what's going on here? I thought people are supposed to observe the social distancing.
Yes, that's one of the consequences of this. You can see that all matches have been suspended in Europe and many other parts of the world. You know, this will cut down a lot of social gatherings, and you know, over there we don't like football here. Go over there, people kill themselves because of football. So when you now say that people will not gather, look at the amount of people that gather in the pubs and all that to watch football. All those are no longer there. You know, so it's a serious development.
Well, if you take a look at the Daily Trust, of course, you won't be shocked what you see on the front page. As Nigeria records 5 new COVID-19 cases, Northwest, North Central close schools, Lagos bans religious gatherings. Reps seek nationwide ban. Ooh, ban on movement, ban on gathering, ban on what? Let's find out in the pages of the Daily Trust. Address Nigerians, Senate tells Buhari. Okay. FG bans entry from 13 countries. 2020 budget slashed by 1.5 trillion naira. Embargo placed on recruitment. It seemed as though this just snuck up on us, and all of a sudden we're deep in this. You see more details, and well, the Daily Trust tries to give what you can do to be safe.
Before you go, another thing that one would also like the government to do at this point is to be briefing Nigerians on a regular basis.
Like what, daily?
Not even, like 5 times daily.
Well, you can either find that on Twitter.
Yes, because
the NCDC has a
because the Minister of Health don't supposed to sleep at this moment. Supposed to be collecting information from all the states of Nigeria and be briefing the media hourly basis, if possible. You understand? Because, look, we are laughing now. It's a dangerous trend. It's a very serious situation we have in our hands, because you don't know how many people that have interacted with this virus that are yet to be identified.
And I think the fact that...
So the ministry should be working around the clock and briefing Nigerians hourly basis.
That should even
and be
panic.
Collecting data from 36 states of the Federation and be releasing data and need and measures that Nigerians can take to ensure that they are safe. It has gone to that stage at this moment.
Oh, some other stories on the front page of the Daily Trust. I think it's quite important to get those briefings. You can check NCDC on Twitter. I mean, we get some of these briefings per time, but this will also reduce panic. It goes a long way. That's the Daily Trust.
And the Daily Independent, coronavirus, reps ask FG to ban public gatherings, open worship, and a number of other riders there. FG issues travel ban on US, UK, 11 other countries, on and on like that. We've seen, talked about virtually every issue on the front page, and how international lenders botched Nigeria's $22.7 billion loan. That story is also right there. Well, government says it's not a good time to borrow.
Is it?
It is not. The question is, who wants to give out money at this time?
But wait, there's a caveat to that. It cannot just be said just like that it's not a good time to borrow. We are talking of, what do we want to borrow for? We want to borrow to show up the economic activities of the country. We want to borrow to develop infrastructure. You understand? We want to borrow to ensure that some of these issues are alleviated. So it depends on what we want to borrow for. Okay. Do you want to borrow money that will end up in private pocket? If that is it, then it's not time to borrow. But if we want to use it to develop the real sector, then I don't see anything bad in that at this moment.
All right, then. So there you go. That's a look at some of the dailies here this morning with Mr. Abimbola Toke, who is the publisher of Business World. Thank you for your time this morning. Editor of Business World. Well, back in a moment. Stay with us.